in this lesson, we'll add prop type declarations for our TacoCard component. So here in TacoCard.jsx, let's begin by importing the default export of the PropTypes library, and it is an object. So right here, I'm going to import that object and give it the name PropTypes, and that is going to come from the prop-types library that we installed in the previous lesson. Okay, so how do we use this PropTypes object? Well, you might be surprised about this syntax, but here we have a function called TacoCard, and it is a function. But as it turns out in JavaScript, our functions are also objects. And what that means is we can actually assign properties to this function the exact same way that we might assign a property to a regular JavaScript object. And that is with dot syntax. So immediately below our declaration of the component, I'm going to reference my TacoCard component like so. And then I'm going to place the dot syntax and then write a property that I want to assign to this function. And in this case, it's very important that this property specifically be called PropTypes. So lowercase p, capital T. And that is important because that is what React is going to be looking for. What we assign to this new PropTypes property is an object like so. And in this object, the property names are going to be the props that we expect should be flowing into the component. So this is where we declare the prop names as well as their expected data types. So in this case, it's a little bit unfortunate, but the name of the prop that we are expecting to receive is actually name. We can see it right here. So for the property right here, we're going to say that we expect to receive a name prop flowing into our TacoCard component. Then for the value here, we're going to utilize the PropTypes object that we imported on line number 1. So right here, we're going to have PropTypes. And then if I place a dot here, we're going to see a wide variety of data types. And here we reference the data type that we want to tell React that name will be. So in our case, our taco name should be a string. So right here in PropTypes, we should find a string reference. And here's what our syntax looks like. So once again, we reference our component, TacoCard. We assign it a PropTypes property, and we do that the exact same way we do with a regular JavaScript object, even though we have a function here. We assign PropTypes right here to an object. In that object, the property names are up to us because they represent the props that will flow into our component. Right now, we only have one of called name, but if we had 5, then we would simply have 5 key value pairs within this object. And then for each property, which represents a prop, we assign the corresponding data type on the right-hand side, and that data type is going to come from the PropTypes import on line number 1. Okay, so now if I refresh my page and check my console, we're not going to get any kind of errors because everything is just fine. But take a look at what's going to happen if I go into app.js and change this to be the wrong data type. So for example, instead of a string like Crunchy Taco Supreme, I'm going to change this to be a number of 5. Now, because 5 is a JavaScript related idea, we do actually need to use that curly brace syntax that we've been using throughout the course. So that way we can incorporate the actual integer value or numeric value 5 as the value of the name prop. So now when I save this, you can see our components are going to try to be resilient. So we can see on the actual UI, we are going to render the value 5 because that is what name is right here, and that syntax will still work. But in the console, we are going to get the warning from PropTypes. And it says, warning, failed prop type, invalid prop name of type number supplied to TacoCard, expected string. So what PropTypes is telling us is, you told me to anticipate a string for the name prop. You've given me a name prop, but it actually had the type of number. So those types are mismatched. There is an issue here, and that has the potential to create an error in your application. Something from the parent component's perspective is incorrect because I'm not getting the type of data that you told me the name prop would be. And it's these kinds of warnings that allow us to say, okay, something in our parent app component must be off. Okay, I'm passing in a number of 5 when here we really need a string like Crunchy Taco Supreme. Now, of course, when we're hard coding things like this, it's unlikely that those kinds of errors will happen, but you can imagine if we have a component hierarchy consisting of, let's say, 5 levels of components, And at the very top, we may be receiving data from an API and then passing that data through 5 components. And that data consists of, let's say, an array of objects, and each of those objects has 6 properties with different types. It's for those kinds of more granular, more complex scenarios that prop types can be super helpful in identifying that even a given property on an object within an array is not of the right data type. And that kind of mismatch can actually cause your application to fail. So that is what PropTypes helps us with, and it's not perhaps as readily apparent with a simple string example, but hopefully the general benefit makes sense, and it certainly is helpful when we're dealing with more complex data structures being passed around from our parent components through our child components via the use of prompts. All right, so that is a quick introduction to the PropTypes library, and don't worry, we're going to get plenty of practice with this library as we proceed through the rest of the course as well. All right, that's all there is to cover in this lesson. We should see this error go away when I refresh my page, and indeed it does. So that's all there is to cover here, and I will see you in the next one.